I have known from an early age that I was a male whore. I mean, how mattress will travel. Now, granted, this was back in my younger days, in my early 20s, early 30s, but I knew from shit the time I was old enough to get my first hard on, it was like crack cocaine. I was hooked. Now, I was one of these men, I don't think I ever said no to anyone. I always kind of looked at it like this. This may be my last piece. If I were to die tomorrow, at least I got a piece tonight. I mean, I was looking at big, small, young, old, blind, crippled, crazy, from 8 to 80. I didn't call much. It was cheap, fun entertainment, and as long as I could find a lady that was into the same type of cheap, fun entertainment, no harm, no foul. There's a lot of you girls out there like that too. Okay, well, back in my teenage years, my early 20s, I liked to date young girls. I'm not talking about sit them on a milk crate and their little legs won't touch the ground kind of young. I mean, I want you to understand that right off the bat. But one night, I guess, I turned out my date's parents. They were out of town, so we go over to her house, and it's about midnight, and we come out of the kitchen, and we're gonna get something to eat and drink. And out come her little brother, and out come the cutest little redhead you've ever seen in your entire life. Well, we instantly look at each other, and it was lust at first look. So, needless to say, I wasn't a very loyal boyfriend. Hell, I wished we could have changed partners that night, but that'd have been even a little weird for Arkansas. Well, okay, I have this brother. He's 6 years younger than I am. Well, I was on my way to drop him off at the house after having him pick up my prom date. I have literally gone to 8 or 9 senior proms. I still remember my last one as if it was yesterday. There was the principal standing at the door greeting all the students and their dates, and well, just my luck, he's in my line. So we walk up, and my date, she introduces herself, and then he turns to me and sticks his hand out, and he says, "You must be her father." Well, I'm thinking, I'm wondering if I need to ask him to at least give me a head start before he calls the police. But I realized he hadn't had the time to call the police yet, so it was time to leave. And deep in my heart, though, I knew that was going to be my last senior prom. It was time to move on to much older and much bigger ladies. Now, when you go after a big one, mostly it's for the challenge. And the challenge is there is no challenge. All you have to do in order to be sure that you're going to get lucky with a big, ugly woman is show up with a dozen Dunkin' Donuts. Hell, she can't eat flowers. Just so you know, I'm not talking about big, beautiful women, BBWs. I love BBWs. What I'm talking about is BUWs, big, ugly women. The kind that has so many rolls that it looks like a cross between the Pillsbury Doughboy and the Michelin Tire Man. This, you could hide chips, cookies, Cheerios in there for a week and they'd still be crunchy. It was airtight. I mean, don't ask me to tell you what I've seen to know this is true, but I bear testament to it. Okay. I know we've all probably had this happen. We've all gone to a bar, it's getting late, the bar's about to close. You look up there, and there's the last person sitting at the bar, and they're looking pretty damn good. And, so you hook up, and off you go. Well, I vaguely remember that night the sound of popping can of biscuits as we undressed. Well, when I wake up the next morning, I'm laying on my side, and I look at her, and I look at what appears to be something looking back at me. At first, honest to God, I can't tell you what it is. I'm sleepy. I'm looking, and I can tell that she is sleeping on she is sleeping on her stomach. She has her head resting on her forearm, but there's this something sticking out from underneath her armpit, looking at me. It took me a while to figure out that was her big old breast, kind of sitting there staring eye to eye with me. Well, that was the first thing that kind of made me go, ugh. But so, being the gentleman I am, I didn't want to wake the lady up, so I kind of slid my arm out. That's when I realized she had her head braced up on her forearm, and there was spittle coming from her mouth. And she had drooled what appeared to be about a plate size of spittle. So I eased myself up out of bed. I run outside and I realize I don't have my car. I'd let her drive me to her place out in the country. So I hop on the phone. I call my brother. I said, dude, man, I need you to come pick me up. He's like, okay, where you at? That's when I realized that I was going to have to wake her up and have her drive me back to my truck. I would have chewed off my arm to have it kept from having to do that. Well, speaking of my brother, that brings me to a little story I'd like to tell you. It was one Easter Sunday. The whole family, the in-laws, the outlaws, the whole kit and caboodle. We're all at a real nice restaurant. We're sitting down having a real nice Easter dinner, and I'd finished eating, or at least, mostly, and I got up and decided I wanted to go have a cigarette. So I walk outside, and my brother, he sits there, he finishes his plate, and he gets up and he goes to the bathroom. Well, as soon as he gets in the bathroom, first thing he sees is my shoes underneath the stall. So now brothers will understand this. So you women may go, ooh, that's nasty. But my brother, being the brother that he is, he pulled down his pants, he pushed the crack of his ass up back to the door, and cut just a great big old greasy fart right inside the stall. And he goes, hey, what'd you think of that? And there was a voice that he didn't recognize go, not much. Well, that's when my brother realized that wasn't me. So he comes outside and he's telling this story, and we're all laughing, wondering, man, we sure wished we knew who the guy was. I'd love to have been a fly at his table to see what kind of a story he had on the way back. One more quick one about my little brother. Now, all us men have probably had this happen to us at one time or another, and a lot more women than are going to admit it. But my brother was driving home on a major freeway here in Houston one day, and all of a sudden, you know how you feel your stomach just go and just kind of roll. Well, his did that, and instantly he knew he had minutes that he needed to find a restroom. He needed to find a restroom quick. So he is actually able to get off the freeway. He pulls into a parking lot. He's got that, his cheeks tightened up, and he's walking funny up to the door, and he reaches out and grabs the door, and he's thinking, oh my God, I made it. And he pulls on the door, and the door's locked. Well, by now the process has begun. There's no stopping the progress. So around the corner he goes. Well, now he's around the corner of this glass bank building, mirrored glass bank building. He's in between the building and the hedge bushes. Well, time is of the essence, so it didn't take long to get them jeans down. And there he is. He's just sitting there doing his thing, minding his own business, when he turns and looks into the mirrored glass and thinks, I wonder if there's like a conference going on just the other side of this wall. Well, he done what any man would do. He cleaned himself up best he could, stood up, held back his shoulders, and ran to the car before he got arrested. And it's just one of those stories that, you never will actually ever forget. We've all got a similar story, except I just think that one's a good one. Talk to you later.